Informal pre-show. And if I did that right, yeah, we're live. Okay, welcome everybody. You guys are going to get to meet Neil here in just a second. And it looks like Gunner's here, and Chris, and Marie, and Marvin, and a whole bunch of folks are watching on YouTube. I would remind you that if you're watching on Facebook, that we're not going to be monitoring the chat in Facebook during the show. We'll be monitoring the chat that goes with the YouTube feed. So you can either go to our YouTube channel, or you can go to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting website and the Watch Live page, and that will have the chat on it. And let's see, and I can pull the chat up right here. There we are. There we go. All right. And Neil, as you guys may know, Neil's Church, River of Life Church in Hastings, Wisconsin. Excuse me, Minnesota. Yeah, I've got some good friends over in Wisconsin. I always get you guys confused because I'm down here in Alabama and y'all are just the northern territories up there.
The Yankees.
Well, I don't know that you're even Yankees. When we think about Yankees, we think about, Cliff Sobel and that group up in New York. Pennsylvanians, the PTZ Optics and Mageville folks in Pennsylvania as being Yankees. Minnesotans, we think about y'all as Southerners that just moved north.
Nice. Part of the great frontier.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I have a friend from Arkansas who tells me you're just a bunch of Yankees up there. So.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Are we having audio issues, folks? Marie says she might not be hearing me. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Let's see. Is this mic on? Yeah, I think the mic's working. It looks like audio's going out. Y'all don't tease me like that. I did a whole show, Neil, a couple of weeks ago, and I've been doing this for years. You'd think I knew better, but I did a whole show with no audio.
Really?
Yeah. So Gunner is saying nothing here. I'm not sure if that's audio or if that's forest fires. So can somebody out there give us an audio test? Is this thing on? Is this working? All right, Dave says he can hear just fine. All right. Thank you, Dave. I was getting panicky there for a second. All right. So Neil's here, and Dan's here. PI Engineering in the chat is probably Dan Slider, and those are the folks that makes the X keys. That's one of the pieces of gear that you're going to be getting. In fact, let's make a note. We got Magewell, X keys, PTZ optics, and vMix. Okay, great. All right. Let's see, PTZ optics. That would be Paul says, Tom, can you ask Neil? Oh, it just rolled off the screen. We'll talk about that afterwards. Paul probably.
Oh, if he wants SDI or HDMI capture.
Yeah, I think you probably want SDI, but let's talk about that.
Yeah,
because they're cable things that we need to consider.
Yep, the benefit is the distance. That's what I hear.
Right. Okay, let's see. Neil, let's see if this is going to mute you. No, it's not. You know, I set this up today and I didn't put a mute button for you, Neil, so you're in trouble.
I got to watch what I say.
Actually, I'm in trouble. Okay. Well, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and run the intro, and then I'm going to do a brief monologue. And so if you would just concentrate on being super quiet during the monologue, and then when I bring you in, you can be your boisterous self. How about that? All right?
Great.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So let's switch to this shot for just a sec, and then we will run the intro, and we will be right back in just a moment. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots, and life is back to normal. Well, whatever that means. Yeah, we're just recovering from NAB. Wasn't that a great opportunity to meet folks, see new gear, all sorts of fun stuff? And for me personally, went right from NAB to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to have a wonderful wedding half week. Anyway, it wasn't a full week, but a half week, with my son and his bride-to-be and her family, and all of my family came in, and it was just a lovely occasion. If you're on Facebook, you can look me up, Tom Sinclair, on Facebook, and see some of the pictures. The bride and the groom, about 6 months ago, asked me to marry them, to be the officiant at their wedding, and so that was just a double joy at that point, and still sort of on a little bit of a high from that. So if I end up being a little chatty, that's well, I'm always chatty, so there's no excuse. I am super excited today to have a guest, not in the studio, but in what will probably end up being his studio at some point. Neil Johnson from River of Life Church in Hastings, Minnesota. Now Neil and the crew at River of Life Church are the recipients. They won the big church giveaway that we've been talking about for a couple of months. They won all sorts of gear. We're going to go through the whole gear list and hear from Rich in just a second. But first, that's right. But first, I wanted to give a shout out to Martin and Tim at vMix. Number one, they had their vMix Fun Time live show last night after being jet lagged. If you've ever taken the trip from the U.S. to Australia, or anywhere on that side of the world, you know it's about a 20 to 30 hour commitment of flights and airports and delays and everything else. And they are almost, they're either 9 hours ahead of us or 9 hours behind us, at least here in Alabama. And so it was pretty much the middle of the night for them when they did that show. So if they appeared a little slap happy, that was probably why. But Martin recovered pretty quickly because he threw out an update to vMix this morning about 11 hours ago, so maybe the middle of the night for us here in the States. And it was vMix 22.0.0.56, which fixed 4 or 5 bugs. And you say, Tom, why is that significant? Well, it's significant, I think, because it shows his care in making sure that these little bugs were probably just little teeny bugs that probably only affected a very few people. But he wanted to make sure that even those very few people got exactly what they paid for, or in the case of vMix, a lot more. And so they didn't have to wait until, it was time to put a production team together to go in and fix a bunch of bugs. He fixed them, he rolled it out, and that is the beauty of the way vMix does business. So a big hoorah to the guys at vMix for being so great. Excuse me. Goodness gracious, thank goodness for the cough button on my super duper X Keys XK80, which I dearly love, and a big shout out to all the folks at X Keys about that. In fact, X Keys and vMix and one of my favorite companies in the whole world, Magewell and mobile video devices up in Pennsylvania, and of course PTZ Optics and my company, Eastern Shore Broadcasting, the five of us were the ones that got together to put together the gear and the software and all the planning and promotion for this church giveaway. I want to introduce Neil to you in just a second, but before I do, I want you to see what we saw when we selected him, and I'm hoping I don't trip this up. So let's see. I've got a special mouse here that I need for this task, because it's not a video that I can start and stop as easily as I would like to. So let me find the mouse. Here we go. All right, let's preview this one right here. And we're going to bring Neil in. It's going to take me just a second to start this video, so be patient with me. Here we go. Oh, you know what? Ha ha! I can't do it on the multi-view. All right, so let's see if I can do it. All right, y'all just sit tight. I'm going to walk over there and do this by hand. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, my name is Neil Johnson. I'm one of the pastors here at River of Life Church. We are located in Hastings, Minnesota, and this is our video for why you should choose us for the PTZ Optics Easter Giveaway Challenge. So Hastings is a pretty old river town here in Minnesota, and River of Life goes back to 1854, and was started actually in town here in a bar. So kind of a cool history. Me personally, Neil Johnson, I started here in January of 2019, so I'm brand new on staff. But I wanted to share with you guys how this would change our systems here at the church. I'm pretty new on staff, and one of my hats that I've been wearing along with youth and also with shadowing the current pastor is updating technology. And there's a lot of different places that we have made some innovations to our website already. We've made innovations to some of our spaces, some of our advertising, but I also think PTZ Optics in our services would really change things and really give us a boost to reach the next generation and to be able to be relevant and accessible for new families. Because many of us know that before a young family checks out a church, they go to their website and they see what they have to offer. And I think for us to put our services online and to be able to have that online presence would be a game changer for us. And it's something that we're looking forward to definitely in general. So we are located here in Hastings, and I've been loving it so far. I've only been on staff for a couple months, but we've been making some slow changes here and there. But our facility here, as we walk into our main sanctuary, you get to see we have everything set up for our quilting club that's going to be happening on Monday nights. Our quilting club is just a bunch of ladies that have been gathering for 40, 50 years, and they do quilting and they unite in faith. But that's kind of some of the stuff that our church has been about. But that's definitely for the older generation. Check it out. Look at that flower. That's pretty cool. Yeah. But it's definitely for the older generation. But one of my purposes here at the church is to reach the younger generation and to be able to make it accessible for them to get into a church environment, for them to feel like when they walk into a space and when they come into the church, somebody thought of me, somebody thought of what I would like, or things that would appeal to me. And so for me, really to be that incarnational ministry, to step into their world and to make it accessible for them is something pretty important for us. We're going to head upstairs. I'll show you the youth room. One of my hats that I also wear here at the church that I mentioned earlier is youth, and making the youth spaces accessible, but also making some of the content that our youth are consuming accessible. So there's a few different ways we've been doing that through different types of Bible studies, but also through engaging media. So one of the things that PTZ Optics will be great for is if we want to do a certain class. Right now I'm doing a senior study for our seniors before they graduate. We want to walk them through certain steps to prepare them spiritually to go out on their own in the world. And so PTZ Optics, one of the things that would be great is recording those classes that I have for those seniors, so that in the future we can go back to those, or if they miss a course, they can go back online and to be able to see some of that content, because content is so vital for the future of the church. And I mean, everybody has content, and not everybody uses it well. So that's something that I really want. So just my final plea here: choose us. I'm really excited about the future of this church, and I would love to see us win this PTZ Optics, because we would install it right away. I would be really excited about getting online so we can be accessible for young families. All right, thank you. Neil Johnson, River of Life. See you later. Hi, my name is Neil Johnson. I'm one of the pastors here at River of Life Church. We are located in Hastings, Minnesota, and this is our video for why you should choose us for the PTZ Optics Easter giveaway challenge. So Hastings is a pretty Hey, Tom, I can't hear you.
Well, of course you can't hear me because my mic's
There
off.
we go.
So there you go. You only got to hear you twice. Welcome to the
I
show.
know.
I'm so glad you could be here. I called Neil
Hey, glad to
about
be here.
an hour and 45 minutes ago, and I said, I'm Tom Sinclair, and, I'm working with this church thing. And he was all excited. And I said, maybe sometime you'd like to be on the show. And he said, sure. And I said, what about an hour and a half? So here he is. Thank you. Holy cow. So
hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Well, you're very welcome. Now, I understand that you guys are just a little bit excited about this new system coming in.
Yes, definitely. We have, I shrieked when I first saw my video. As I didn't shriek, I made some sort of noise, but and then people started coming into my office because we had some volunteers that were in the building, and they heard it and ran down the hallway, and they thought I was in trouble, but I was fine. And we just started watching the live stream, and I was like, "This is my video," and they didn't really have much context because nobody knew that I entered in this contest. And so now everybody knows that I entered in the contest. And when I made that video, I had no idea that it was going to be broadcasted for all to see. And so I was like, wow, okay, all right, there it is. And so but we have so many people that are excited for the future, and actually some of the older generation, just them catching word of what's going on. They're excited about it too, which I was pleasantly surprised to see some of that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Generally, you would think that folks are, people are down on what they're not up on, and if this takes them by surprise, it's not always the best. But that's so great to hear that the attitude is to welcome something like this. Well, what gave you the idea that this would be something you guys would like to do?
So this is a little connection. Well, so one of my hats is technology. So I was looking for different ways to broadcast our church and get us more relevant and able to reach the next generation, be accessible, kind of like I said in my video. And so I was looking at YouTube, I was looking at all these different places, and actually I found PTZ Optics through Churchfront, Jake over at Churchfront. Thanks, Jake. But
Yeah,
he shared
really.
it as one of the things, one of the options. And I looked at the price point and I was like, okay, $1,600. I mean, that's not a full camera system. That's not, spending $20,000 to get a separate soundboard and all these other things like I had witnessed at previous churches. But it was simpler and it was better and it was a better fit for small churches. So I was like, wow, okay, maybe we can pull this off. So yeah.
Well, not only did you pull it off, but you guys just, it wasn't that you just shoplifted something. You just
Yeah.
wiped out the whole store. I mean, do
Yeah.
you know what you're getting?
Yeah. So I
Okay.
have I even put together a little like receipt of how much each one of these things would cost. And I'm like, okay, with the people flying out to help set us up, I mean, this is like $15,000-$20,000 worth of stuff. This is more. This is above and beyond anything that I could ever ask or imagine. And I would say, I mean, this is a huge answer to prayer for us. I mean, like I've been praying for technology, literally. Like, how can we be accessible for the next generation? God, I can't do this. You got to do it. And so he's doing it. So we're excited about it.
That is so cool. Neil, it's been my belief since, this technology kind of came across my radar 10, 12 years ago, that this is not something that man has invented. This is
Yeah.
something that man has discovered.
Yep.
And there's a big difference in that. I honestly
Mhm.
do believe that the Lord God Almighty intended this stuff to be there for us at a time in the history of the world when we would need to be able to communicate the message of the gospel and all the other things that go along with being a member of the
Mhm.
Christian faith to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
Because the internet is extending to the ends of the earth, and you
Yeah.
guys are coming at it at a perfect time. I'm so excited about your church and all
Yeah.
the different things you guys are going to be able to do.
Yeah. And
Holy
definitely it's a
cow!
tool,
Wow.
and
Yes. Yes.
any tool. A screwdriver can be used for unrighteousness, but a screwdriver can be used to the glory of God. And so it's another tool, another way to declare his excellencies. So I'm all about
Indeed.
that. 1 Peter 2:9. Yeah.
Indeed. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Yes. Yes. I am. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I am very excited for you guys. I really am.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And believe it or not, I'm the guy you get to work with the most.
Yes.
I'm going to be the
Great.
one to help you configure your system. I'm going to be the
Yeah.
one to teach you how to use vMix, and I built the system, so I know the ins and outs of the system, and
Good.
can show you how to
Good.
make it do things that you won't believe.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's going to be so much fun, so much fun. In fact, one of my joys, and I've got one that I'm about to put on the workbench right now for a church over in Wisconsin. But one of my joys is building PCs for churches because of the
Yeah.
impact that I know it's going to have. And each PC and set of cameras and vMix software and Magewell capture cards and X keys controls that go out into the world, into a church, is just
Hmm.
one more way that we're reclaiming territory. And I can't be more excited about that. I really can't. So you're not going to be able to do all this yourself. Have you figured out who some of your victims are? I mean, excuse me, volunteers are for this project?
Yes, the voluntold people.
Right.
I've been voluntelling some of our youth already, but yeah,
Good.
like I would say this is something that I would say, especially our younger generation, but a lot of our people in general have been looking for something like this and
Right.
for looking for a way to serve. So this is a way to get their hands dirty. But I also know that adding stuff to our Sunday morning service could complicate things and could make things even more difficult. So we got to get good training, and we got to make sure that they go through all the right steps and that sort of thing. And so some of that will be standardizing that just for our church, getting those systems in place. And so that I'm definitely looking forward to. And I was strategic in who I shared it with. I said, hey, we won this thing. I want you to watch this video, and I want you to be on my team. So that's an easy sell. So I love that.
Well, and I've got some other good news for you. Is I work
Okay.
with a group of sixth graders every week, two
Nice.
or three times a week at a local school. Uh-oh, is that me? Is that you?
That's my phone. That's my phone. I'm just gonna let it ring. Hopefully somebody else picks it up. Hello.
But these sixth graders, 12 and 13-year-olds now, they can pull this stuff off.
Oh yeah.
And they're using the system that I built for them includes a lot of almost the exact same gear that you guys are getting, and they are running the whole shebang. So don't think that
they're
it's
technology
not just
natives.
They really are, and they're teaching the teachers how to do it. It's really funny. I'm having a good time with that one. So
that's cool.
You guys have a website. You're gonna embed a live video feed onto your website. Are you guys working with Facebook or YouTube or other kinds of social media stuff?
We are. Some of that. I just started a YouTube account. Actually, it was ironic. Last week, Monday, I started a YouTube account for the church. And, part of the reason why I didn't have it going in the first month was because I needed content. I needed content to put up there. And that's one of the reasons why we're not on Instagram yet, because I feel like I want to have a good amount of content and a good advertising strategy or advertising calendar so that we post things on a regular basis. So until I'm ready to post things on a regular basis and have consistency between sharing events and advertising for things, along with sharing praises and just having encouraging content for some of our people, I'm not going to take those steps. But so we're taking it one step at a time. But we have YouTube. And I'm still working on getting some content up for that. But at PTZ Optics, this whole thing with vMix is really going to help us have some of that content that we can take from Sunday and help it go on throughout the rest of the week. So
I've got a friend, Dennis Washington, who is in near Birmingham, Alabama. And Dennis works with a large number of churches. In fact, maybe we can hook him up with you guys about how to take simply just the Sunday content. Your tradition, do you guys worship on Sunday or Saturday or Fridays or Tuesdays?
We have a Saturday night service. It's small, intimate, but our main thrust is Sunday morning.
Okay. So probably Sunday morning might be where you started out, live streaming and recording. And what Dennis does is he'll take that recording of the Sunday service and he'll pick out maybe just the pastor's sermon. And so he's got that as an asset that he can use. And then within the pastor's sermon, he'll pick out about a 10 or 15 second slice. And he'll use the slice to get to the sermon and use the sermon to get to the service. And he'll seed that into Facebook during the course of the week, a little at a time, so that he's kind of building an expectation of good things. And then, of course, it kind of rolls right into the next live stream on the following Sunday. So, we'll share some of those strategies with you, as well as strategies for folks that may not feel particularly comfortable with evangelism to be amazing evangelists using social media. It's really astounding. Now, so tell me a little bit about River of Life Church. This is you guys are not a super mega church that has only been around for 2 or 3 years.
No, so we are about 100, 150. And it's funny, as I got on staff, I asked a lot of questions about the community, and about half the churches within the city of Hastings came about because our church split at some point over the last 150 years or whatever. So it,
How about that?
it's I would say it's a shoddy form of church planting, but I would say today it's pretty effective for the gospel. But I'm guessing it wasn't a good thing for the church at the time. But
Church planting
yeah,
through multiple factions. I got it.
yes, yep, yeah. But
Interesting.
what was your original question again? Sorry.
Oh, who knows? No, I just want to know a little bit about the church, a little bit about the history,
Yes.
where you guys
Okay.
came from, what your tradition is, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so we are just Baptist, but when people ask me, what is Baptist? What is all this? I'm like, we're just all about Jesus. We want people to have a real, genuine encounter, to grow in a real, loving relationship with Jesus through Scripture, through the Word, and through worshiping together. And so that's really the heart of our church, and that's the momentum. Like any sort of Baptist denomination only goes back a couple hundred years. But if we look at the lineage of Christ, that goes back 2,000 years, and then if we look at Christ, the Christophanies, all the way throughout Scripture, it goes back to the beginning of time. So that's kind of the connection that we have. And yeah, so our church has we're kind of in a transition period. My position was hired so that in 3 years, Lord willing, I would replace the senior pastor. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
it's this in-house thing called the Joshua Project that we're working on together, where he's training me, and Pastor Steve has been here for 20 years. He's been doing pastoral ministry for 35, and he's ready
Wow.
to retire, but we are looking to the future, and we're looking for what God has for us. So, and we're looking with great expectation. So,
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing.
yeah,
Generally, you don't see that kind of planning, especially 3 years in advance for the
yeah.
retirement of a
Well,
long-term pastor. It almost always means when a long-term pastor retires and then the church goes out to find a replacement at that point,
yeah,
that person coming in has already got two strikes against them because they're not
yep,
the old guy that knew everything,
yeah,
and
hmm,
they'll be there 2-3 years and then they're off. But in your
yeah,
case, you get to partner, come
yeah,
alongside, in some ways find out where all the bodies are buried, and I
yeah,
hate to say it, but at least the stories, the backstories, that as a pastor you
yeah,
have to have some of that pastoral history in order to be able to
yeah,
pastor into the future. I get that. My dad was an Episcopal priest, so I grew up as a preacher's kid, the worst kind of kid
hmm,
you ever want to be around.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope you're not a preacher's kid, but all the preacher's kids I knew were as rotten as
I'm
me.
not.
We were all trying to
Mm,
prove that we were
yeah,
just as good as anybody else, and that
yeah,
we weren't goody two shoes. But your role as a pastor in waiting is going
yeah,
to be very important, very exciting, and to add this electronic medium into it
hmm,
really could. Oh wow! Lots of possibilities. Lots of possibilities.
yeah,
My brain's just
yeah,
filling up
and
with all the things that you guys could try to accomplish. Really
definitely,
awesome
definitely.
stuff.
And I would say, like, one of the things that attracted me to the church, when I was candidating, I started candidating the end of last year. Last fall. Um, and as I was candidating, one of the things that really attracted me to the church was just this vibrant, loving community. I got greeted 5 times before I made it to my seat, like the when I went as a nobody, and so one of the things
Ah,
that I would love to do is to take this beautiful community that sometimes, small churches sometimes are the best kept secret around, and to not make it a big promotion or a big thing, but to reflect that through different streams of media. So
cool, cool.
yeah.
Well, you and I could probably sit down and talk all day
Oh yeah.
about what you guys are going to do and how I'm going to help you, and then all the things that you're going to do that I'm not going to have anything to do with, because
Yeah.
at some points we cut you loose. But we are practically out of town for the show. I know there are lots of folks watching live and would probably like to ask some questions. So let's close out the show portion now, and we'll go to the post show. So if you've got just a few minutes, can you stick around for a couple of questions?
I would be more than happy to. And I still need to
Awesome.
choose SDI versus HDMI. And
Well,
maybe you could help me with that decision.
yeah, we'll talk about that. Talk about some
Okay.
distances. All right, so we're gonna put Neil on hold for just a second, and we'll come back to him in the post show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This would be the time where we would have the infomercial, where I would tell you that Streaming Idiots is run by Eastern Shore Broadcasting, which is my company. Yeah, there it was. It was right over there. And we build PCs for churches and all sorts of other folks that do live streaming, and we work with PTZ Optics and Magewell and X Keys and of course vMix, and sell all those products. This would be the time where I would tell you that, but I guess since I've already told you that, then I guess I did. So there was the infomercial. So if we can help you with any of that, come over to easternshorebroadcasting.com, and there's a little store there. But if you have questions, you can always reach me. So we're going to go to the closing now, and again, big thanks to Martin Kay for making this closing so very cool. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And we are out.
Okay.
And let's go back to Neil. Neil, you still there?
Hello.
Can you
I'm
hear
still
me?
here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, I am. I was thinking. What would it be like to be in Neil's shoes, where he just sort of tosses this seed out there, and then all of a sudden 100-fold just sprout right back up, almost instantaneously. It's just like it was meant to be or something. If you're in the chat room, if you're watching us live, and again, sorry, we're only monitoring the YouTube. Actually, we're monitoring the YouTube chat and the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Facebook page chat, but we can't respond to either one of them right now. But I'm looking at them right up here, and Neil is looking at the ones from YouTube. So if you've got some questions for Neil, go ahead and lay them out here. Now, Neil, what did I want to say? Oh, where were you coming from when you came to River of Life Church?
So I graduated from college out at Crown College, west of the cities, 2012, and then even I was a communications major,
Okay.
along with a biblical studies major. So everybody out at Crown double majors. So
Interesting.
big shout out to Crown College Communications. Love that department, love that school. Just near and dear to my heart. But as I was going to graduate, I wanted to work in an ad agency. And so I was thinking video, graphic design, photography, videography, communications.
Right.
That's what I was passionate about art. And so I wanted to make art. And so that was my trajectory. And I actually had an internship that I was working on. And it's amazing how God changed those plans, where I got a message from my youth pastor just as I was in my final semester, and he said, we got a job, fifth and sixth grade position. It's a ministry director position, and I think you'd be great for it. And I had done an internship in the church, and I had, been through youth group. And for me, I sat down with myself. I was just, what, like, God, I have a passion for people. I don't know if I have a passion for these people. And so just kind of his spirit spoke to my spirit. And it was this thing of, I fifth and sixth graders are just little people. And it was amazing experience. So really what I did is I just stepped in and started working with fifth and sixth graders, and I was super green. I wanted to teach them the entirety of the gospel, the depths of Romans, all of theology. And I quickly learned that I couldn't do that for a fifth and sixth grade mind. So I did youth ministry for the last 7 years. And so I was working at various different levels of that over at Friendship Church in Prior Lake and Shakopee. And I worked at the Shakopee campus. And so I was doing that for the last 7 years. And then I was looking to go into full-time pastoral ministry, and this open door came up. And my wife and I checked it out, and we continued to pray about it, and God continued to affirm every step of the way. And here we are. We're living in Hastings. We moved in the day after Christmas, and just started in 2019. So
that is awesome. That is awesome.
yeah,
Great
that's a little
story.
bit of my story.
And I
Yeah.
love that it was fifth and sixth graders that sort of
Oh
lured you,
man.
because that's a great age. I love working with those kids. Yeah.
Yes.
All
So
right.
much energy, and they're not too cool for school yet. So I
Right.
appreciate that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You can see they're beginning to move that direction. Yeah.
Yes.
So Chris Morton is asking, Neil, what does the rest of your shirt say, please? I think you
Oh,
can only
okay. So this
see the
is
top part.
yeah, so it's Spirit and Truth. This is a documentary. I didn't know that I was going to be on the show today. I'll throw that out there right away. But so Spirit and Truth. This is a documentary put out by Les Lamphere. He put out a documentary a couple years ago called Calvinist. But Spirit and Truth is about worship, and so I'm one of the supporters from his crowdfunding
Uh-huh.
with making it happen. So it was a Kickstarter campaign, and so for being part of the Kickstarter, I got this awesome shirt. So
Cool
I'm
shirt.
I'm excited for it to come out. So
Yeah. All
it's
right. Yeah.
it's going to be a
What a
good
coincidence
documentary on
that you would
worship.
wear it this day. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. What
No
a
such thing.
coincidence.
No such
So
thing. All right.
yeah.
Ronald Wallace says, "Oh, I said, Tom, I didn't tell you I'm a deacon at my church. Definitely need to get vMix for my church, and he runs the audio department of the church. Well, that's good." Jonia is asking, "What does Neil do?" Well, Neil, I'll let you answer that question.
I
Johnny
am
apparently just
a
tuned in.
pastor. I am a pastor at River of Life Church in Hastings. I wear three hats: youth. So I've taken on the entire youth department, seventh grade through 12th grade, and really developing a vision for them, and finding out when a student comes in as a seventh grader. Between that time and when they graduate as a 12th grader, how do we best disciple them? How do we best equip them? How do we best bring them to the cross? And what are the steps in their spiritual walk? What are the important things that we want to equip them with for faith-filled life? And then the second hat is technology. So we're starting to get screens in our lobby. We're starting to get some things going with the website, just like I shared in the video before. And then the third hat is shadowing Pastor Steve to, Lord willing, take over after 3 years. So that's my job. You could say I'm an associate, but the senior pastor likes to say I'm just one of the pastors. So we'll keep it at that.
And Joni, it's also interesting to note that Neil and the River of Life Church are the recipient of the Easter giveaway, which was a
Yes.
full live streaming system, including a PC with vMix and Magewell, an X Keys control device, PTZ optics cameras, and what else? Oh, and assembly of the PC and tech support by me and Eastern Shore Broadcasting. So
Mm-hmm.
that's who Neil is, and that's why he's here. Yeah.
Yes. And Tom, is that X keys the one that you have, the 80 key, the one that's going to be included?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not really invisible.
Awesome.
You really can't see through it even because some of my keys are green. But
Okay.
this one, do not use this as an idea of how it should be configured. This is
Okay.
like,
Okay.
I started here and then I added a few things and I added a few more and I added a few more and I need to go back and rework the whole thing so that all the keys are in the right place.
Yep.
So yeah. Now I see Alan Bunt is in the chat. Alan is his church is Good Shepherd Lutheran, just
Okay.
over in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, and they just
Great.
bought a big system from us. We'll be putting that together for them soon. Al has been doing live streaming, golly gee, since I think since like 2011, 2012 at Good Shepherd.
Wow.
And in their tradition, periodically, I think maybe once a month, they'll have communion And they ended up with a pretty large, like 60 or 70 people that were part of their regular online congregation. And so what they do when it comes time for the local church body to have their communion service, they send out communion kits to all the people that are members of their live stream congregation, so that when it comes time in the service, the folks that are at home, whether they're homebound or overseas or just somebody that found this church and are a remote member, that they can celebrate in with it too. So they've got the bread and the grape juice in those cases. So Al is somebody you probably, cool. Oh, Al says 2009. Sorry, Al, gee whiz. But Al is somebody that we want to get on your network list. Because
sure.
He's done some amazing things there at Good Shepherd. And in addition to holding down a regular full-time job and taking care of the choir and all the other things he does. Holy cow.
Yep. And PI Engineering, I can see they say, Neil and Tom, I will send you some planning documents to help you figure out the layout. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to, because I mean, it's a good problem. Having 80 keys is a good problem.
We don't need to read the instructions. That just confuses you. Dan, wants to send a planning document. No, here's the thing, is that anything you decide is going to work, after about 3 to 6 months worth of experience, you realize that's not at all what I need. Now that I've done it for a while, I know what I need. It's like your experience in ministering with 5th and 6th graders. You know, you can have an idea going in, but until you put that battle plan into action, you never really know how it is.
And it's not necessarily that you have a YouTube page, it's how you use your YouTube page. It's the same with, other forms of media. It's not necessarily that you have it, it's how you use it, and that it's meant for our volunteers, so that they can learn it.
Maggie says, do I use this XK80 on every show? And the truth is, Maggie, I do. It is customized exactly the way I like it, frankly. Right down here in the corner, closest to me is the cough button. This is the one that mutes my mic that occasionally I forget to turn back on. It even has some lights under it, and we'll talk about the activators that vMix can do on that. Maggie works with PI Engineering and the XKs folks. And then Jonia says that his church has an Acer Predator, which is a laptop, but we don't have capture cards, cables, and we still use a basic version of vMix. So Joni, I'm encouraging you to press on, to get up with your board or your vestry or whoever it might be, and encourage them to put some money into a budget to move forward on that. Daniel Wright says the fun part is figuring out the layout for the beast. He says he's already reconfigured the 80 keys that he's got. So listen to Daniel, don't listen to Dan. Dan says that you shouldn't listen to me, and Dan doesn't know about this stuff.
All right, Dan, thanks.
Well, and what you're going to find too, Neil, and it can be a temptation in some ways, and it can be a wonderful asset in other ways, is that there's this community of folks out there that do live streaming. And some of them are churches, and some of them are sports people, and some of them are talk show people, and some of them do wear multiple hats. But they've got all this valuable experience that they love to share. For example, this show, Streaming Idiots, as a result of this show, Jan Lind, who you see in the chat room right now, he and his wife Marie, who you saw in the chat room a few minutes ago, a couple of years ago started a Facebook group for this show, the Streaming Idiots show, and said, Tom, we want to do this, and we hope that we can have 50 members in this group. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. It'd be nice to have a group with 50 members. Well, what's happened is it exceeded our expectations, and we've got like 2,600 members of the group now, and so
that's
a lot
good
of them
amount.
are internationals, and so there's a conversation going pretty much 24/7 about live streaming, problems, solutions, new products, thoughts about doing things this way, sharing successes, sharing failures. It's a great little community. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to join that one. I'm already, even before the giveaway happened, out of the PTZ Optics user group. So they have it says here 3,700, but I'm guessing there's more pockets, which that I love, just the fact that there's Google is a great, the internet, how we can share this free information. Just you got to take the time to learn it, and that's part of it.
You do. You do.
Hmm.
All right, let's see. You guys are not supposed to be poking fun at me in the chat room. You're supposed to be asking questions of Neil. It's more fun to poke fun at me, though. Jan says that I should change the button so that it reactivates the mic when I press it. But Jan, sometimes I have to just turn it off. It's not that I just want to mute it while I'm coughing. Maybe I make a cough button and a turn off button. There we go. All right. Dave Edwards, who's in chat, who you will get to meet, I'm sure, at some point. Dave is a great guy,
Yeah.
and a vMix guy from way back. He says that I set up vMix Voice. Well, vMix Voice is actually a voice-activated command program inside of vMix.
Oh, wow.
So
That's really cool.
You could actually have keywords that the pastor had in the sermon, and with those keywords, certain things could happen as a result. The possibilities are endless there. Yeah, going to be fun. We had that set up at the vMix booth at the National Association of Broadcasters Convention and Trade Show a couple of weeks ago. One of the PCs was set up with that, and we noticed that all of a sudden it kept changing things, and there was no reason for it to change. We weren't touching it, and later on, the developer of vMix, Tom Sinclair, who was a long lost cousin of mine, I'm sure, came up and said that he had put vMix Voice on there, and when you said certain things, it did certain things, but he wasn't going to tell us that. He just wanted us to find out about it.
So nice. So just keep talking and see what happens.
That's right. That's right. And they introduced this like the week of April Fool's Week, April Fool's Day. And so we all thought it was a joke for the longest time.
There's always some good technology that comes out with like what was the one? I think Google Maps did a little Mario Kart car or something like that, and like there's always fun technology things that you can do for
that's right,
or that have happened. So
that's right. Well, it looks like this group is out of questions, and I know as the pastor in a church, your work is never done. So unless somebody's got a question that just can't keep, we're going to cut you loose. But while we do, but before we do, and I think other folks will take some benefit from this, let's talk just a second about cabling and what kind of capture device you want. The tube-based and the PTZ Optics camera has the ability to connect an HDMI cable and have an HDMI output, an SDI cable, have an SDI output, an old what would we call it? A composite cable and have a standard definition output. Not that you'd ever want to use that. Or an Ethernet jack where you could plug in an Ethernet cable and actually send video out over Ethernet. So there are 4 different ways to get video out of this creature.
Wow.
Really, the only 2 that we want to talk about are going to be SDI and HDMI. The beauty of SDI is that SDI cables are, number one, they're much easier to work with physically than HDMI cables. And number 2, they'll go much greater distances. But HDMI has the advantage in that it's ubiquitous. So if you were to add another camera to the outfit at some point, a handy cam or something like that, it's probably going to be HDMI. So as you're thinking towards the immediate decision, but also kind of into the future, we think, okay, well, how likely is it that we're going to need to add an extra camera? Then maybe we want to go more the HDMI route. How far would the PC be from the cameras? Well, maybe we need to do the SDI route, and so we can talk about some ways to do both. Yeah, and Chris Z is saying in chat, do you want to do iMac? Are you going to have some of this, some of what the cameras are taking in, be projected up on the TV screens that would be present in the sanctuary at the same time as the live stream?
I think that would be helpful, especially if we do some sort of event. Yeah. And there's people that are in the back and they can't quite see, or one of the other ideas that we're walking through is we have a library, and I would say our library is collecting a lot of dust in
Mhm.
some respects, and so we're looking to turn it into an overflow room um, or a cry room, even
Cry room,
where we can
sure.
broadcast that same feed into that room,
Right,
so that people that have special needs kids, or people that
right.
uh, mothers nursing babies can go into that room, so
There you go.
and still catch the sermon. So
There you go.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about some more of that and come up with a decision
Okay.
real quick because I think PTZ Optics probably is ready to send that PC to
Yes.
you, and you are
Yeah.
ready to have it. Here's Kenny
Yeah.
Hampton in the chat. Kenny works as the AV director at Greenville University.
Okay.
And he says, Neil, you're going to want SDI version if your cameras are more than 25 feet away from the computer. And so
Okay.
Kenny is a good resource on that. Plus, I think SDI cables are a little easier to work with.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Definitely.
we're gonna cut Neil loose. You guys can stay and chat amongst yourselves all you want to, but I know he's got to get back to work, and so do I. Neil, thanks so much for taking time as kind of a
I'm glad
surprise
to.
today, carving out
Yeah.
an hour and a half, and I will be in touch with you, and
Yeah.
we'll kind of circle all the people together that are responsible for the moving parts in this giveaway and make sure we're all on the same page and get you guys some really cool gear really soon.
Yes. Yes. I actually have to go in and email PTZ Optics and tell them SDI. Let's do SDI. So
SDI, there you go.
because I think that's how we're gonna do it. So yeah.
All right, very
So
good. Well, Neil,
all
thank
right.
you, and thanks to everybody tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.